Hey, what's up guys? Going to be showing you my Stephen King collection. This is most of my Stephen King collection. I do have more, but maybe I'll show that in another video, but it won't be anytime soon. But this is basically just the best of the bunch. So this is what I'm going to show to you guys for today. And we're going to start off with Creepshow. It's a classic film that was directed by George A. Romero, and he collaborated with Stephen King to make this anthology film, which is a really good movie. There's several short stories in here, including one that has Stephen King in it. And I just love the poster art, beautiful poster art of the Grim Reaper. This is how they, advertised back in the day, with this poster art. It wasn't all these trailers that you see nowadays. The 80s had this beautiful poster art. You saw the poster art and you're like, man, that looks so cool. I want to see that. So yeah, it's a shame you don't see this type of advertising anymore. This really got me into the theater seeing this. Just left it kind of a mystery of what the film was about. You might have saw a teaser trailer and that was about it. Nowadays you see so many trailers, you've already seen the movie before you went and saw it. So, but yeah, this is Creepshow, classic film, definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it. And then we got Creepshow 2, which is a good sequel, not as good as the original. It doesn't have as many stories as the first film does. It has a lot of classic scenes in it. And of course, George A. Romero and Stephen King return. Stephen King has a really funny cameo in this. And once again, you have beautiful poster art with the Grim Reaper. And even inside, it's got some cool artwork. Got the poster art right there. And then on the desk, really, really cool. So yeah, that is Creepshow 2. Good sequel. I do own Creepshow 3 somewhere. And that is a terrible film. Do not watch that. You'll regret it. I didn't pay much for it though. So, but it's a really bad movie. George A. Romero and Stephen King did not return, which, you can tell. But I have not seen the Creepshow TV show. I hear really good things about it. If you have seen the Creepshow TV show, let me know in the comments below. Let me know your thoughts on the show. So that's Creepshow 2. And now we got Salem's Lot, which is a remake. This is a miniseries. I prefer the remake than the original film. I know that might be considered sacrilege. A lot of people love the original Salem's Lot. But I just think the remake is more cutting edge. It goes at a quicker pace. And I just like the actors. Rob Lowe. And you got Donald Sutherland. And you got Rutger Hauer. And I don't know. It's just the original. It's just really slow pace. It takes forever to get to the point. It does have classic moments, but to me, they're just very few and far between. And it just, drags on, I don't know. It's just one of those movies that it has those classic moments and they're scary and it has nice atmosphere about it, but it just, I don't know. It's just one of those movies. I've never been really a big fan of the original film. I've always preferred the remake. That's just me. Anyway, this is Salem's Lot, the remake. And then we got Dreamcatcher, which is a really odd movie, honestly. It's entertaining, but I don't know. It's just one of those movies. It's a little odd. And then we got Stephen King's Silver Bullet, which is, to me, it's a good movie. You know, I like the story. I like the characters and the performances with the actors. I like the actors in the film. Corey Haim is the lead character in this. And it's just one of those movies that, you know, people, you know, in the horror community, you know, it's one of those movies that people don't always say good things about. And mainly, I think it's because of the special effects. You know, the werewolf doesn't look very good. But I can look past the special effects because I like the story. I think it's a pretty good story and some really good performances. You know, it's one of those movies I think is underrated. So that is Stephen King's Silver Bullet. And then we got The Dark Half with Timothy Hutton, which is another underrated film in my opinion. It's basically this guy, he has a dark half, he has this like evil twin type of deal. I just always thought this was a kind of one of those underrated films. It's actually pretty good. So yeah, that is The Dark Half. And then we got Stephen King's The Dead Zone. Really good performance by Christopher Walken, which is my favorite movie from him. Just really stellar performance. And a really good movie, good story. This guy gets in a car accident and is in a coma for several years. And he has this psychic ability where he can see things, you know, before they happen. And people getting killed, or this guy that's trying to run for president that's a bad person. He's got to prevent these things from happening. So it's a pretty good movie. So that's Stephen King's The Dead Zone. And then we got Cujo, which is a scary movie. It scared me when I was a kid. This dog that has rabies, and it's just relentless in trying to kill this woman and her son. This movie's terrifying. That is Cujo. And then we have Stephen King's Pet Sematary, which is another film that scared me when I was a kid. I had nightmares after seeing this film. Yeah, it's definitely a lot better than the remake. That remake was pointless. But yeah, it's a classic film. Sometimes dead is better. So that is Stephen King's Pet Sematary. And then we have Pet Sematary 2, which I think is an underrated sequel. It's not as good as the original film, obviously, but I would rather watch this than, you know, the remake. It's got Edward Furlong in it. And yeah, raise some hell. You know, it's a good movie to watch during Halloween. You know, it's a good time waster. I always, you know, had a soft spot for this film. So that's Pet Sematary 2. And then we have Sleepwalkers, which is a pretty good movie in my opinion. You know, not a lot of people like this film. I think it's underrated. It does have flaws about it, but I think it was pretty clever in my opinion. You know, it does have some moments that are kind of like, maybe they should have cut that out, but for the most part, I mean, I like the dark humor in it. I think it's a pretty decent horror film. You know, these creatures, you know, if they get scratched by a cat, that's how you can kill them. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I've always enjoyed this one. I think it's low underrated, in my opinion. But that is Stephen King's Sleepwalkers. And then we got Stephen King's Riding the Bullet, which is another one of those movies that has a lot of dark humor and has David Arquette in it. which is pretty funny in it. I don't know, I always like this one too. It's a TV movie. But that is Stephen King's Riding the Bullet. And then we got another TV movie, Stephen King's Sometimes They Come Back, which is pretty good. I barely remember the second film. They've made 3 of them altogether. Third film, I don't remember. I don't think I've ever seen the third film, but this is a good one. So that's Stephen King's Sometimes They Come Back. And then we got Stephen King's The Tommyknockers, which is really good in my opinion. One of my favorite miniseries from Stephen King. So that is Stephen King's The Tommyknockers. Then we got Misery, which is a really fucked up movie. It's one of those movies that I can watch, but not all the time. It's kind of hard to watch at times because it's pretty scary concept. But yeah, that is Misery. And then we got Stand By Me, which is a good Stephen King film. Surprisingly, Stephen King wrote this. It's a lot different for him. Got River Phoenix and Corey Feldman and Jerry O'Connell, which I don't know if you can see. It looks a lot different there. And Kiefer Sutherland. It's a pretty good movie. That's Stand By Me. And then we have Stephen King's It, this is a lot better in the remake. This is the one I grew up with. This is a mini-series, 2-parter. And, you know, you got Tim Curry as Pennywise. This is Pennywise to me. And you have a really great cast here. It's just a better story to me, and more likable characters, really good dialogue, and, you know, relationship with all these friends, you know. I enjoy it more than the remake. But yeah. So that is Stephen King's It. It came out in 1990. Mini-series. And then we have It, the remake, which this isn't as good as the 1990 miniseries of Stephen King's It. I just prefer that version more. The most memorable thing about the remake that stands out in my mind is the opening scene with Georgie getting killed. I mean, it's an okay movie, you know, but I just prefer the original. I don't have It Chapter 2. I thought that was kind of disappointing. And they plan to make a It Chapter 3, which Stephen King is actually going to write. Which is pretty surprising that he's actually going to do that. But, yeah. This is It, the remake. Then we have Children of the Corn, the original classic. Which is a pretty scary film with kids killing people in a cornfield. So yeah, this is the best one in the series. They've made so many of these films, so many sequels and remakes. I've lost count. I've only seen a couple of the sequels, but this is the best one. It's original. So that is Children of the Corn. And then we got Children of the Corn 2, The Final Sacrifice, and Children of the Corn 3, Urban Harvest, which this is a double feature of both films. Children of the Corn 2 is actually not too bad. Children of the Corn 3 is actually not good at all. I've never seen Children of the Corn 4 or 5, but I have seen Children of the Corn 666, which is included in this set of this 20 horror films collection set. I don't know if you can see it very well. It says Children of the Corn 666, Isaac's Return, which is the same actor in the original film, playing Isaac once again in this film. It was okay. But yeah, that's the only Children of Corn films I've seen. I've never seen any of the other ones. It's probably for the better, actually. I've heard some pretty bad things about the sequels, so I didn't bother watching the other ones. But this is Children of Corn 666, Isaac's Return. And then we have the classic Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Jack Nicholson is scary as hell in this film. Very terrifying film. Really scary imagery and really great atmosphere. And yeah. Surprisingly enough, Stephen King does not like this film at all. So much, in fact, that he got a remake made for television. That was like a three-parter, actually. Came out in the 90s, called Stephen King's The Shining. He wants to let everyone know this is Stephen King's The Shining. It's not Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. I can tell you Stephen King, but Stanley Kubrick's The Shining is a lot better, even though it's loosely based off his story. And this is more closer to the book, more in depth. To me, it's just too long and drawn out and not scary like the original film with Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson is Jack Torrance. This guy who's playing Jack Torrance, I want to try to think of what the actor's name is. Steven Weber. Which, he's a good actor, but he was miscast as this character, Jack Torrance. He just wasn't scary like Jack Nicholson. Wasn't the right part for him. It does have some good parts in it, though. It has some good things. It's just too long and not scary like the original. That is Stephen King's The Shining. Then we got Stephen King's Cat's Eye, which might surprise people, but this is actually my favorite Stephen King movie. You got young Drew Barrymore there, holding the cat, which his name is General. And this cat is trying to find her. He keeps seeing, this Drew Barrymore, her character, in visions. And he keeps seeing her, and she's telling him, come find me, you have to help me. She's in danger, basically. So this cat has to go through all these obstacles, to try to find her. It's like an anthology film with 3 short stories, and the cat is in all, 3 short stories. And the best story is the last story, the 3rd story, where this cat is fighting this troll that's trying to steal Drew Barrymore's breath. It's a pretty cool, story. Seeing that cat fight that troll. It's a pretty cool movie. It's really good. I really enjoy this one. My favorite Stephen King film. So that is Stephen King's Cat's Eye. And then we got Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, which I've seen better Stephen King films. This one's okay. I've seen better. It's kind of a cool artwork on the cover with the skull and the rats. That's Stephen King's Graveyard Shift. Then we got Stephen King's Christine, which is a classic John Carpenter film about a possessed car. Pretty good film. One of John Carpenter's better movies. And this is another Stephen King film in here. In this double feature, I'm just going to show you Maximum Overdrive, which oddly enough, Stephen King directed this film. I remember it not being a very good movie. and I remember it being over the top with the performances by the actors, and I remember it being kind of annoying. I don't know, I haven't seen it in a long time, so one of these days I'll watch it again. But that is Maximum Overdrive. And let's see here. Now we have Carrie Triple Feature, which has Carrie, the original classic. It has The Rage Carrie 2, which is an underrated sequel, and it has Carrie 2002, which is a remake for television, which I've never seen. But yeah, Carrie and The Rage Carrie 2 are good movies. But yeah, that's Carrie Triple Feature. And this is the second remake, Carrie. And has Chloe Grace Moretz playing Carrie. I thought this was a decent remake. So that is Carrie remake. And then we got Firestarter 2-movie collection with the original classic Firestarter, Drew Barrymore, and then Firestarter 2 rekindled, which I remember being okay for a TV movie, but not as good as the original. So that is Firestarter 2-movie collection. Then we got Dolian's Cadillac with Christian Slater, which I've never seen this film, so I don't know if it's any good or not. It's a blind buy. Guy at the pawn shop, dirt cheap. If anyone's ever seen Dolian's Cadillac, let me know in the comments below if it's any good. That's Dolian's Cadillac. And we have here The Running Man, which this is actually a Stephen King story. Believe it or not, it doesn't have his name on here because it's under a different name, Richard Bachman, but that's actually Stephen King. He just uses that name for some reason. I don't know why, but this is actually a Stephen King story. I don't know if a lot of people know about that. I'm sure people do, but this is a really good one as well with Arnold Schwarzenegger. So that is The Running Man. And then, last but not least, this is The Lawnmower Man, which is based off a Stephen King short story. Very extremely loosely based. Stephen King actually tried to sue them to get his name off of this because it's really, it's so loosely based off his story. It's like entirely almost a different film in a way, just little things that's based off the original novel. But honestly, this movie is better than the book. Jeff Fahey in the lead role, really great performance by him, and Pierce Bronson. Definitely worth checking out. And that is The Lawnmower Man. And this is my collection. Hope you guys enjoyed this collection video, my Stephen King collection. I hope you guys have a good day. Take it easy.